Okay, so let's actually bring this up. All right, so today published this particular circuit because today is a planning day, all the way up until 8 p.m. Yeah, 8 p.m. today is a planning day. It's currently 3:33 p.m. Eastern Time, so you got another 5 hours to start making longish term plans. Now, the reason why I say that the next good time to plan long term doesn't come up until March 24th is because of the way that the timing is for the rest of the month on planning periods. So, March 4th is our next long-ish planning period. It's about 5 hours long. So that's going to be your next opportunity to really brush this up. But today you really want to start figuring out your theme for the month, what your each week is going on, and things like that. So we're entering this period right now in a waning moon. We're going to come up to a new moon. I can check into exactly when that is. You know what? I have it in another thing here. There we go. So, of course I don't have it written down anywhere handy at the moment. Well, in any case, basically what you want to do is plan that this week is for eliminations. And then as soon as we get into our last quarter moon, comes up to the 3rd. So this week is about starting to figure out what needs to be removed. Next week is about actually actively eliminating and simplifying. The week after that is going to be a time when we are working to renew and regenerate. So just kind of understand that, like, those are the themes that you've got going on from, now until March 4th. We're working on figuring out what needs to be eliminated. From March 4th for the next 10 days, we're working on actually actively eliminating things. And then for the next 8 days after that, we're going to be building. And if you work against your natural rhythms, you're going to find it difficult. So these are the natural rhythms that are going on right now. These are the times, these are the energies that are helping us to do what we actually say we want to do, right? So up until March 4th is when you're really gathering what's frustrating you, what shouldn't be here, what is not working, and really pinning that down as best you can, so that after March 4th you can start eliminating, really truly eliminating what isn't working. And then after about March 12th, start rebuilding again. Start building something else. Build your weeks out. Just mark at the top of your weeks, like what you're starting to do in those phases, so that you can get an idea for when you're starting to make plans. Oh, I shouldn't start this now, because if I start this now, it's going to be an uphill battle of everything trying to be eliminated. So I should start this after the new moon. When you work with your natural rhythms, everything is easier. Now, today is a planning day. And I heard from some of you that today was forced into being a planning day. You got some kind of news today or some kind of event which has totally stopped work and forced you to reevaluate everything. That isn't by coincidence or happenstance. These are the natural rhythms. The energy is going to push you to do these things whether you like it or not. So when you consider what is actually going on, Sid being right there in the middle of the word, being the root for star, when you consider what is actually going on, you're much more able to plan. The reason why I'm able to be much more consistent is not because I have more willpower, it's not because I have more training, it's not because I'm used to this or anything else along those lines. It is because I'm working with my rhythms, and I'm working with the rhythm of the energy that's moving through us. So the first thing that I do in any planning period is I look at what rhythms are going on. And that's why I've built out these star charts for the next several days. So today It's a relatively quiet day. We just have the moon kind of arguing with Pluto a little bit. So our long-term Pluto is really tugging on our heartstrings with the moon. And our sun is very well connected to Mercury and Saturn, meaning that, and I mean strongly connected, like it's exact right now, exactly conjunct right now, our sun, Mercury, and Saturn. All in Pisces with Neptune there. Okay, so that all lines up to being in alignment with what Pluto is trying to tell our moon. Think ahead, communicate ahead, plan ahead, put yourself in your future shoes. That's what all of this is doing, all lined up in Pisces. So it's all lined up for us to do planning today. And if you didn't actually consciously choose to do planning, the universe forced you to do it. Because we have Uranus, which always does funny things. Uranus is oncoming to be square with Venus, meaning that Uranus, our planet of weird stuff, is becoming in conflict with our values. It will force us to act in alignment with either doing unusual things or acting in alignment with our values. We have to choose. There is no either or. So if you did not choose to do the action of the day, which is planning, universe forced you to do it. I'm very sure of that. I have no qualms about saying that. It's a very easy assertion. And then moving into tomorrow, Thursday, February 29th. Our sun and moon are going to be trine, and our moon is also going to be trine with Mercury and Saturn. So after our feelings have had this whole conversation with our future self, Pluto, now they're actually having a nice, favorable, happy conversation with our personal self, our sun, our communications, our sense of self, Mercury, and our sense of organization and purpose, Saturn. So they're having this very easy conversation right now, the day after a planning day. No real coincidence. As long as you do your planning and figure out what you're doing to move yourself ahead. If you didn't actually figure out that today was a planning day, your week probably feels completely thrown off. But if you did actually find out that today was a planning day, then you know that tomorrow's a new beginning, and this is all lined up for us to be very, very productive. Except for the fact that our moon is opposite Jupiter. So on a conscious level, we feel like we just don't want to do anything really productive, right? We don't really do anything that's too productive. We kind of want to stay a little bit in the shadows, especially since our moon is also square, or coming on to being square, Uranus and Mars. That will definitely impact us a little bit, because we're not, again, everything is kind of pushing us towards a more internal activity. Mars is our external activity, or active activities, if it were, and Uranus is kind of our subconscious desires. So we have all this pushback against doing anything that's really overt. So I'm going to note in here that Thursday, February 24th, just as a immediate first impression, what's going on here is that this is a very good time to work internally, in terms of, you've got processes that you want to beautify, you've got sales things that you want to make better. This is a really good time for working not on client work or sales oriented things, but things that are more personal, private work. So independent work day is what I'm going to note for Thursday, February 29th. Moving on into the next day, we have that trine with our moon starting to dissipate. In fact, it's only evident now with Mercury and our sun, and now actually Neptune is getting involved in this little trine, and it's going to get stronger. So we're starting to think more about our dreams. We're feeling more into our dreams, especially since the moon is still feeling that opposition with Jupiter, but it's coming into being trine, or square, sorry. Coming into being square. Jupiter is coming into being square with Venus. And our moon is actually now more strongly opposed Uranus. So essentially, we don't want to do anything too weird. We just want to kind of get closer to our dreams. And, you know, there's still a good pushback against actual growth. You know, between between Jupiter not wanting to really cooperate with Venus and Mars not really wanting to cooperate with either one, either Uranus or Jupiter. It's kind of one of those things where we really don't want to do anything too unusual. We really don't want to grow too much, but we really want to think about our future and our dreams and our aspirations. So this might be a really good time for things like goal setting. That's what I'm going to put in there for Friday, March the 1st. Because with the way that Venus is going to be hypercritical of our moon, and the way that our moon is trine Mercury and Neptune and our sun, I feel like, you know, goal setting and evaluation is a really, really good priority on that particular day. Saturday, March the 2nd. Now, weekends I tend not to get too involved, simply because, well, they usually turn out to be one of two things. Just because Saturn is the planet of the day, I'm going to start with Saturn, and Saturn is currently sextile Jupiter. So it almost doesn't matter what you do, it will move you towards growth, right? That's why I don't really get too concerned with Saturdays, because you might think consciously that you're not really doing anything tremendously wonderful for your growth, but this little sextile here between Saturn and Jupiter is hanging around for a long time, right? It's going to have this little tenuous connection for months. So even though you're playing and you think you're just playing, you're actually doing something really, really, really beneficial for yourself. I'm just going to quickly check messages. I don't see any messages. I do see someone watching, which is fantastic. Hello, say hello. Let us know who you are. Anyway, so so with our moon being directly trine Neptune on Saturday, we are very, very, very drawn towards our dreams. We want to do something that brings us closer to our dreams, especially with our moon also being sextile Pluto. So this is really a time to, I would say, get into a hobby or do something that builds or crafts or creates something, right? So this is a day of creation, day of fun creation, right? Do something different, because Uranus is still very much coming into square with Venus. So it's also conjunct Jupiter now. So everything that we do towards growth is going to be from an unexpected direction. Not something that we would consciously think of as being actually moving us towards growth. So Sunday, March the 3rd. Again, it's a weekend. I'm not too concerned about going too in depth on this. But one thing worth noticing, our Sun, our Mercury, and our Saturn are all square up against our moon. Let me say that again. Sun, Mercury, and Saturn are all square against our moon. That means that our sense of identity, our sense of communication, our sense of organization are all going against our feelings and what we feel to be right and true. And this little square between Uranus and Venus is now exact. So, if anything else today, if nothing else at least, today is now for something completely different. This is the day to do that's something that's just absolutely outside of your norm, because, like I said, Uranus conjunct Jupiter, everything that we do towards our growth is going to come outside of our conscious beliefs of what is actually moving us towards growth. Another thing to pay attention to is that our sun is coming into being sextile with Uranus, meaning that we ourselves are potentially on the verge of a completely different view of ourselves and the way that we do things and what can be done. So just be aware that as you come in to the next planning period on March the 4th, you might have a completely different perspective than you thought about the month. And so this is why I say, just for the next 3 weeks, just kind of figure out what general large projects, general large objectives that you want to take advantage of during the moon phases, and into the waning quarter is just figuring out what you need to eliminate. This final quarter is going to be actively eliminating things. And then after the 12th is when you're going to be rebuilding. Just keep that very general, because as soon as you get into March the 4th, you're going to have an entirely different perspective on what you really want to do. And you're not going to feel like you want to do it. We're going to have Moon square Neptune. So our feelings are going to be somewhat in conflict with our dreams. We're probably going to dream another dream, and we're going to sit here feeling like, oh gosh, it's yet another thing to do. How am I going to do that? Right? So that's likely a source of conflict as soon as we start planning on March the 4th, is how am I actually going to do what I want to do? Because otherwise, everything else is kind of a minor influence on us on this day. I mean, yes, Mercury is exactly sextile with Uranus. All right, so we have Mercury sextile with Uranus, which means that we're probably going to sound a little crazy to people. We're probably not going to sound like ourselves. We're probably going to communicate in an unexpected manner, and we might even communicate in an unexpected manner with ourselves. Because again, we've got the sun coming into this sextile with Uranus as well. And this whole conjunction between our sun and Mercury and Saturn and Neptune is kind of starting to break up a little bit, except that Mercury is starting to sort of walk away with Neptune. Mercury and Neptune are kind of going in the beat of their own drum for a minute here. I mean, everybody else is still kind of talking to them. I mean, Saturn's sort of feeling a little bit lost, but he's still connected to the sun. So Mercury and Neptune are walking off having this little conversation about how can we communicate our dreams better? How can we, because we get this urge to want to talk about what we're doing. So how do we talk more about what we're doing and what we want to do and what we dream? Those are going to be the thoughts and considerations that will weigh heavy on us on our next planning period on March the 4th, is what can we do differently and how can we express our dreams better? And that's what I'm going to put in here. What can we do differently? Of course, if I can type. And how can we express our dreams better? So that is an overview of kind of a strategic plan that I would do with just about anybody if I'm sitting down for a strategic session. So I would look at what the stars are doing, advise to what they're doing, and give a bit of a 2-second overview as to what is best to do with those energies. Where can we put that energy so that it's wind in our sails rather than in our face? This is why I sit and I look at the stars. It's not to tell me who I am or to tell me what's going to happen. It's to tell me where can I put that win so that it's in my sails rather than in my face. If you're interested in those kinds of planning sessions, I will be starting up the membership program here shortly again, and 10 a.m. Eastern is definitely determined now for a high-level strategic session with my board level members. So if you're interested, definitely contact me, message me, send me any kind of anything that you can. I'm pretty sure pigeons might be able to find me, but good luck with that one. I highly recommend Facebook. So shoot me a message and I'll get you connected in for that. And there's a lot more to this. It's not just about looking at the stars and kind of getting a gist for what you can do with your time. This is primarily, first and foremost, about working with your rhythms. So looking at this, I'm giving you a general idea. But as I get to know you and how these stars impact you, I get to give you more specific advice on how these stars are going to impact you personally, so that you can work with your rhythms rather than against them. So if that's something that you're up for doing, I'm going to keep the price at $150 a month for that, for now. Just for now. So if you're up for it, every weekday, co-working sessions, 10 a.m., so that you can plan your day and tackle it like a freaking pro, message me. Look forward to it. But until our next planning session on March the 4th, I will just keep sharing the little September star circuits, well, with a bit more information than just independent workday and stuff like that. I'll just keep doing that every day. Same baddie person, same baddie channel on March the 4th. Have fun. Aloha.